Did you know Variety, the children's charity, is the entertainment charity started by a group of show business people who found an abandoned baby in a theatre way back in 1928. These kind-hearted performers raised so much money to help the lost child that they began helping other children, and Variety, the children's charity, was born. Read the full story and support the entertainers charity that supports kids in need today. Visit variety.org.au. You're listening to the School of Hard Knock Knocks podcast with me, Maury Morgan.
Ladies and gentlemen, your next comedian.
Shouldn't drink on an empty head, you know that, don't you?
That is the shittiest heckle I have ever heard in my life.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
What's a bucket list?
You have dangerously underprepared yourself for the shit that is about to get real.
Sometimes anonymity can give you the courage to try something scary. That was the case for Cameron James, the Newcastle-born comedian whose first open mic was at Comedy on the Edge in Sydney, where he knew no one, intentionally. Today, Cameron is well known, having made the national grand final of Raw Comedy, performed all over Australia, had TV roles, and he even has representation. In this interview, we talk about Cameron's comedy birth, getting acting spots on telly, building his personal brand through investing in his own social media content, and the popularity of podcasting for comedians. We also talk about his Melbourne International Comedy Festival show titled Chilled Out, Fired Up. And if you're interested in kicking off your stand-up comedy career, there are still spots available for the April 22 to 26 stand-up comedy course in Melbourne with resident teacher and veteran comedian Christine Basil. Visit www.schoolofhardknockknocks.com and secure your spot today. Now, here's Cameron James.
I turned 29 a couple of weeks ago, but I still feel 18 years old, except when I'm around actual 18-year-olds. Then I feel like a bad undercover cop trying to join a gang, you know? I can't speak to them. I can barely speak to people my own age. You know, my friends, they like to be playfully mean to each other for fun, and I'm not good at it at all. Whenever I try, it always gets real personal real quick. You know, a friend will be like, "Hey, Cameron, you suck." And I'll be like, "Hey, Kevin, you have a gambling problem, man. And that's why Susan left you, okay? Don't ignore the signs, Kev." I get invited to adult parties now. You guys experience that phenomenon that happens? Yeah, it's different to a party when you're younger. Remember young people parties? It's just a house full of people and everyone's drinking and dancing and hooking up, having a good time. You know what an adult party is? It's just 8 people listening to one person explain what celiac disease is. That's all it is. It's the most boring thing in the world. And hey, no disrespect if anyone here suffers from that very real illness. I'm sorry, my heart goes out to you. You know, I personally lost 2 good friends to gluten intolerance last year, so I can... They're not dead, I just don't speak to them anymore. Too boring.
Good afternoon, Cameron. How are you, mate?
I'm pretty good, Maury. How are you going?
Oh, well, it's a lovely day in Melbourne. I know that you're originally from Newcastle, more recently moved to Sydney, but it's a beautiful day here in Melbourne, so... Are
you serious? It sucks here, man. I've got grey skies. I've had to take all the washing inside. It's bullshit, honestly.
Where are you? You know, you're in the suburb, are you?
I'm in the suburb of Glebe in Sydney, and it is just the worst weather. It's off and on rain. It's actually Melbourne weather, no offence.
Yeah, no offence taken. Well, there you go. Good to know. I actually just assumed that you'd already be in Melbourne getting ready and, I don't know, but you're not. You're heading down.
No. I'll be there on Wednesday next week.
For the beginning, isn't it? Wednesday's the...
For the beginning. I think Thursday is the opening night, but Wednesday I'm coming down to do Crab Lab. So I'll be in Melbourne then a bit early. You know, not that much early. The night before. Really good.
Fantastic. Well, Crab Lab's a good spot. Excellent. Upstairs. Well, as I just said, you are from Newcastle. You moved to Sydney. Let's get stuck into it. The people that listen to this podcast are, well, they're comedy lovers. They want to know the history. How'd you get to where you are today? You know, the ins and outs and some of the gossip. So what on earth made you go from... I mean, I can understand why you left Newcastle, but why did you get into comedy? And why did you get into comedy and move to Sydney?
That it's very hard to not be offended when you say I can understand why he left Newcastle.
Sorry, I forgot to say no offence. No offence. Is that all right?
Okay, well now I can't be offended because you've said that, so that's fair. No offence taken. I got into. I was always a comedy fan. I guess everyone is, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners are comedy fans as well and have been their whole life. But I never really thought I could be a comedian because it just seemed to be that the people I looked up to or idolized were geniuses, you know? Like I grew up loving Billy Connolly and Monty Python and sort of that kind of, I guess, more British comedy as a kid. And so I just assumed that all these people were next-level geniuses that you could never kind of compete with. But then when I was living in Newcastle, I was a bartender at this pub, and one of the guys that I worked with was an open mic comic, and I went and watched him do comedy one night, and he sucked so bad. He was just awful, just a huge bomb. And I just remember sitting in the crowd watching him and going, oh, maybe they're not all geniuses. Maybe
that's right.
Maybe you can do this even if you're not Billy Connolly level brilliant straight away. And so that kind of planted the seed that maybe I could, you know, have a little tiny beginning in open mic and try to eventually one day be better than Billy Connolly.
There you go. That's a big call. And that fellow that kind of got you started indirectly, does he still do comedy?
I actually have never seen him since I stopped working at that bar, so I guess maybe he just gave it up as well. And that's the thing, there's nothing wrong with giving it up. There's been so many times where I've kind of looked at my bank balance or looked at how many nights I've been away from home and thought, I should have just stayed at the bar, to be honest. It's an easier career path sometimes. But, you know, I do like doing it, I've got to say.
Fair enough. But, you know, when you're in that retirement village, aged sort of 88 years of age, looking back on your life, you'll go, yeah, I should have been in that bar. Yeah, it was probably a better choice.
I definitely should have just stayed on that salary and never tried.
Never achieved anything. Exactly, yes. And all right, well, that's very depressing. And so you went to Sydney, and so if my understanding is your first gig was in Newcastle, is that right?
No, actually, I started watching open mic in Newcastle, and then I moved to Sydney with my girlfriend at the time, and I didn't know anyone, so I just kind of figured because I was anonymous in this city, I could just start doing open mic here, and if I was god-awful, I could disappear, and I would probably never see any of those people again. So I did my first ever gigs in Sydney. In fact, my first one was at this kind of iconic Sydney room called Comedy on Edge, which if your listeners are from Sydney, they'll know exactly what that is. And it was rough back then. It's become quite a good gig now, but back then it was pretty rough, like maybe 3 people in the crowd sort of thing.
Oh,
but,
right.
Yeah, it was great. It was a good gig. I mean, there's Melbourne equivalent of Comedy on Edge for sure. And it was so fun, man. From the beginning, I knew that I was probably going to keep doing it. Even if I sucked, I was just going to keep doing it.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. And you have kept doing it, obviously, that we're talking to. You've got shows coming up at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival. But you've also sidestepped a little bit. My research on you says that you're also an actor, a writer, as well as obviously a comedian. And as probably relevant to this podcast, you're a pretty avid podcaster yourself, aren't you?
I think it's the law for anyone in comedy to have a podcast, isn't it? I think that's...
Well, that's my question. So I understand you've got 2, but tell me if you've got more. Mic Check and Total Reboot. Is there any others?
No, it's just those 2. There was a third one a while ago. It was another movie podcast, but we kind of ended that. Too much time. But I do love podcasting. How long have you been doing it for?
Middle of last year, 2017, we started, I believe. So,
So good, isn't it?
Oh, well, it's good in the moment, like now. In the post-production, that's tiring. But, cutting out all the little pieces and noise, and if audience members don't hear the mistakes that I make, a lot of, where I repeat the question correctly the second time, and obviously you don't hear the first time. So I do a little bit of post-production, as I said off camera, I put all the laugh tracks so that you laugh at all my jokes. There you go. There's one right there.
There you go. You can just sample that one and use it throughout the...
So that's a question to you then, was this an active, aside from you liking doing podcasts, is this an active marketing technique to build your brand, the podcasts?
It wasn't deliberate, I don't think, but I think myself and the guy that I do a lot of podcasts with, Alexi Toliopoulos, we were both just fans of movie podcasts and comedy podcasts.
Right.
And we just decided to do it for fun. It kind of all kicked off maybe 3 years ago just for fun, but then it has indirectly, I think, led to having a bit of an easier access to an audience. Because they're comedy first, our podcasts, the people that do listen are likely to want to come see either of us live. And that's good. Like, it's not as cynical as I'm using this as a marketing tool or whatever. It's more like it's just happened, and that's a good thing. And I think that's the way it's got to be. Like, I think just being genuine and just trying to be funny every for an hour an episode, just give people good entertainment. That's like a relatively noble thing, free, funny stuff. And then, if it's not coming from a cynical place, maybe they'll want to come and spend $20 on you one night in Melbourne or whatever and check out how you... So, I mean, I think it's been helpful. Definitely. It's definitely been fun too. It's been fun to meet people all around the country who have the same sense of humour as me and like all the stupid in-jokes that are on our podcasts.
Excellent. Yeah, well, I've just subscribed, so I'll be listening to those in-jokes. So podcasting is one, acting as well. Utopia, Robert. Now, was it just one episode to date? Is Robert going to make he's coming back? Well, he wasn't killed in a neighbour's style sort of car crash, was he?
I've been sending emails to Working Dog, pitching all sorts of ideas for Robert. Yeah, right. And also, thank you for reminding me of the character's name, because I totally did not. Sorry. I don't think he ever got called by his name on the show, so it's nice to know that it lives on somewhere.
Well, again, back to the listeners who listen to this, and some of them are comedians and budding actors, and may even donate their time to little projects here and there. How do you go from being a comedian on stage to getting that call from Working Dog or your agent or whoever, and getting an actual role in one of, arguably one of the best comedies in Australia at the moment?
Oh, totally. It is the best, I think. I'm such a fan, and it was great. You can't even understand how much of a crazy experience it was for me to be like in the same room as those guys. Even just like chatting to Santo Cialaro was such a huge deal for me. I think I can only speak from my experience, and I kind of started comedy in Sydney at the same time as a bunch of other people who I guess have similar tastes to me and like making videos and sketches and kind of online stuff. So over the years, I've been doing this for about 7 years. Over that time, I guess I've just kind of built up a natural body of work or show reel of stupid sketches and stuff. In the last couple of years, myself and another great comedian, Becky Lucas, have made a lot of stuff together, a lot of videos just for free on our own back, getting someone to help us film it, and then we'll edit it ourselves. And those videos, I guess, just over time started to get a little bit of traction, and that led to opportunities like Utopia, which was one of my first, I guess, real acting jobs. I got some stuff on Tonightly, and I just filmed some stuff for Nazim Hussein's new sketch show. And I think it all did just grow out of all the stuff that we did for free in an office building at night time. So it is just really generating your own content. It's the same as podcasting, just doing it and making sure it's consistently good and funny, and hopefully it develops some kind of audience or someone famous retweet it.
Yeah, great. So as a comedian, you would recommend to other newbies getting started that they should invest in video?
I think so.
In some form.
But also, you got to find what works for you, because, I tried a lot of stuff that didn't fly. I tried doing kind of like reviews of albums, or I did a kind of joke cooking show. I've tried so many different things that I thought were funny but just got nothing. And then just kind of, I guess, over time naturally stumbled into a kind of rhythm that turns out is what people like seeing me do. And a lot of stuff has been involved with Becky Lucas and Henry Stone, good director that we work with quite a bit. So it is trial and error. And there's something kind of fun about trying something that no one sees. It's cool that you just get that opportunity to make something and you put it on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and it gets like 20 views and no one cares, and you just go, oh well, that was just rehearsal.
Right. Oh, that's a positive way of looking at it. And the spend, I'm assuming you do pay some money occasionally to people to help you out. So, yeah.
Well, to be honest, I guess you got to find people that are also willing to work for free. It's a lot of that stuff early on, a lot of like mates coming together and trying to make cool stuff. And then over time, hopefully you can get a little bit of money for it, or you can spend a bit of money, but a lot of pro bono work.
Right. Well, you just mentioned Facebook, and I understand that you actually quit Facebook. Are you back on, are you?
I've got a secret profile, but I did quit it for a long time because I think Facebook's kind of gross. And also, I felt weird. It felt weird for me having my family and my comedy friends like interacting in a strange way. Do you know what I mean? I was kind of like, shit, this is two worlds that should never be colliding. I've got to keep these people separate. But now I do have a little, I guess, a secret profile that I mainly use for comedy stuff. Yeah.
Fair enough. I won't ask. I'll let you share that in any of your podcasts or Twitter, because you are active on Twitter still. I
am on Twitter, yeah, and I shouldn't be. I've got to be honest. I think I'm getting a bit sick of Twitter too. It's I understand it's important for promo. A lot of comics use it to kind of plug their shows or to build like a repertoire of jokes, but I think I'm getting a bit over it. Do you use it much?
Well, my side of the operations of the School of Hard Knocks is operations, it's marketing and reaching out. We don't have a huge following. I think we have only about 500 or 600 followers on Twitter. Instagram is taking off faster.
That's good.
We're just shy of 1,000 there.
Yeah.
Because I think when I saw that you were active on Twitter, and I also, my understanding of the demographics of comedian Twitter users is that they're typically older within the demographic of comedians. So, like, I don't know, Joel Creasy, for example, I don't think he uses Twitter, but he's huge on Instagram. Yeah. So, whereas some of the older comedians, like Richard Stubbs, for example, he doesn't have, I don't think he's got an Instagram at all, and he's on Twitter. So I saw that you're on Twitter. I'm like, because what are you, 29?
I'm 30 now.
30?
Yeah, I turned 30 in January. I used to use it a lot more, especially when I was just starting out, and I found it very helpful to, like, I guess, practice joke writing and develop a certain type of joke writing too, and to kind of, it was snappy and it was ironic and it was sarcastic, and you could kind of connect people that way through a character almost. But right. Over the past couple of years, I think I've noticed that it's become less of a joke platform and more of a kind of outlet for people to just be political and kind of argue their beliefs and say their opinions on things. And I don't know, as a comedian, that kind of bores me. I don't really care about seeing people discuss world issues seriously. I'm more like, let's just make fun of stuff and make stupid jokes. I can understand why Instagram's better. I've actually been spending probably more of my time on Instagram, to be honest.
Right.
Because you get two opportunities to make jokes on Instagram. The photo itself can be funny, and then the caption is almost like a tweet as well. So you get double the joke. It's awesome.
Double joke. Well, Simon Taylor, who I interviewed early on last year, he said that when Twitter flipped, was it 146 characters to 250 or something?
280 now, yeah.
280. So he didn't like that because it meant that he wasn't constricting his writing, as you described, and omitting all of the redundant words, and makes people lazy. Essentially,
it does, yeah. You can, and also you can do a new feature now where you can write multiple posts at once and publish them all together.
Oh, okay.
So people can pretty much just write a friggin' blog.
Yeah.
and then just publish it all as one like string of 12 tweets. And it's just like, that's the complete opposite of what Twitter was originally. The whole thing was that it was 140 characters, and now it's just essentially, it was microblogging, and now it's just blogging. So it's kind of a bit boring.
Yeah, right. Now, that's I'm going to use that as my segue to your Melbourne International Comedy Festival show, because I've watched some of your shows, your performances. I've even seen you live in the past in Melbourne when you've been down here for previous shows. Cool. Your show, Chilled Out, Fired Up, is it about your life, the experiences, the tribulations of growing up? Because that's what you put a lot of personality and personal stories into your comedy.
Yeah, I think, like everyone who does these festivals, you have to come up with the name of your show about 6 months in advance before you even really know what your hour is going to be about. But it ended up being weirdly fortuitous, because this show is largely about the two sides of my personality, the one that is very relaxed and chilled out, and the one that is fired up and angry and sooky about nothing.
Right.
So yeah, it's personal. I guess it's about growing up, trying to be a good person, even though there's that one half of my brain that just wants to be an attention seeker, a little tantrum baby.
Yep.
So yeah, that's kind of what it's about. It's been fun putting it together over the last few months too, and especially over the last couple of festivals I've done, and realizing how unintentionally all the material I've been working on for the last year is themed.
It's almost like The Secret. Like you put the words chilled out, fired up out into the universe, and all these experiences happen to you as a result.
Yeah, I know. Maybe next year I'll call my show 2019 Barry Award winner.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck on that one then. And your show is at the Greek Centre, which is on. You've got almost every night. Is that right? Right through the full month.
Pretty much.
Or except Mondays.
Every night except for Mondays. Yeah, I've got Mondays off. Yeah. But it's going to be fun. I've never been in the Greek Centre before. Yep. I saw a show there last year. It's pretty fun. I think it'll be a cool venue. It's a maybe 50-seater or something like that. Right. So it should be fun and a bit intimate. Also, I've got some cool... I'm excited because I've got some cool gigs throughout the festival too. I've got... me and Becky are hosting Festival Club, I think the first Saturday night of the festival. It's going to be so fun. I don't think they've ever had a duo host before.
Right.
So
is that the evening one?
Really fun.
The 11 p.m. sort of after show?
Yeah, that one. Yeah, the 11 o'clock one. So that'll be pretty fun. And we've done a bit of hosting together in the last year or so, and it's always really fun, a lot of laughs. So I reckon that'll be a good gig to go to.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, that's great. So it's from most nights it's 7 till 8 p.m. at the Greek Centre, but on Sundays I believe it's 6 till 7. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Church time. So if anyone doesn't want to go to church, come along and be a sinner at my show.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Well, Cameron James, fantastic. Thank you very much for taking the time out from miserable Glebe and talking to me. I'm actually in the heart of Melbourne right now. It's the Formula One going on. It's and I live right next to the racetrack, so you probably can't hear it. It's but in my ear I can just hear the race going on in the back. It's warm ups or preliminaries or whatever they do.
Well, actually, you just reminded me, and I'll say it before I go. It's up to you if you want to leave this in. But I got a writing job this year, a really quick writing job, writing jokes for panelists to say on the V8 coverage on Fox Sports.
Oh, yeah.
It's really weird because I know nothing about cars and I know nothing about V8, but for some reason I got this gig, and it's just been for the last month or so. So every couple of days I've been tuning in and watching these panelists on Fox Sports talk about the events and seeing some of my jokes on there, and everyone laughs on the panel, and I have no idea why they're laughing. And I wrote
Can you remember one? Can you remember one of those jokes?
I wrote one about Dave Reynolds, who I think came first or second in Adelaide at the Adelaide 500, that killed. I can't remember what the hell it was now. It was something even specific about his car. like I used the nickname that he gives his car or something, and just destroyed. And I was at home and I'd already forgotten the context of the joke, so I was like, shit, what does that even mean? I didn't get the jokes that I'd written.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's bizarre.
So good luck, enjoy, and hopefully, you know, they use some more of my jokes on the TV in the future.
Yeah, well, I'm a little bit like you. I don't really get into motorsport, but look, when people invite me on helicopter rides and junkets over the road, I say yes. But yeah,
of course.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Cameron. It's been great talking to you, and we're. Another thing, you may not know this, but we're going to be doing a review on your show April 13. So we're sending one of our School of Hard Knocks journalists, and they're going to do obviously a positive report, and we'll get that up on our website as well.
Please give me 5 stars, journalist. Thank you so much.
Cheers, mate. Thanks very
mate.
much.
Bye.